Hey, this is the Baitmaster Fishing Podcast. I'm your host, Noah Boyd. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about all the aspects of fishing, everything from first bite to in the boat. Let's dive in.
We went for each other like a bullet from a gun. Faster than the sheriff's drawing, hotter than the sun. Didn't see it coming lately, I've been on the run. You know you've seen my face before, so let me tell you something.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Baitmaster Fishing Podcast. Last week we talked about types of baits and the lures to use when you're fishing in lakes and fishing and like freshwater fishing. We talked about like what lures there are, the type of lure that you should use, and we talked about how it was kind of like personal preference based on what you want. For today's topic, we're going to be talking about saltwater and deep sea fishing, just overall. So to get started, where I usually go saltwater or deep sea fishing is usually in Florida, but we usually have to go out with a charter because sadly I don't live in Florida, and we don't have a boat either, so we have to go out with somebody usually. But usually it's a lot of fun. So, I'd say for saltwater or just deep sea in general, I'd say probably my favorite type of fish to catch, like sport wise, is probably amberjack. And then I also really like to catch like snapper, grouper, hogfish, and all that. But there was this one time, I think it was last trip where we caught, 2 trips ago, where we caught one of the guys on our trip caught a Goliath grouper. So that was pretty sick. And it was actually really cool to see because they are huge, dude. It's insane. Intercoastal wise, I like to catch like redfish and like jack and tarpon and cobia. But like tarpon, they're really cool. I like that they're extremely hard to catch. They're more of a sport fish than anything. And so I like being able to try and catch them, but I have never caught a tarpon. They're extremely hard to catch. But what I have caught is a cobia. Sorry, I have not caught it. When I was younger, I got it on the line. And I was so young that I couldn't even handle it, so my dad had to reel it into the boat because it was so strong. But overall, I really like saltwater fishing in general. I think it's really fun and just enjoy doing it. I'd say, like, eating-wise, that's probably the best you can get because, like, I really like eating snapper and grouper. Plus, they're really fun to catch. But I'd say out of my favorites, it's more like hogfish is also really good. They also have these things called grunts. I don't know if you listened, I think it was 2 episodes ago, where me and my guest Rustin, we were talking about grunts and how they make extremely good fishing tacos, or fish tacos. And that's true. I mean, they're extremely good to eat. They're really good for eating. I think that it's all about what you like when it comes to, like, good eating fish. Like, some people like snapper because it's, like, more flaky and more rich. But some people also like grouper. Personally, I like grouper better because it's just, like, I think it's better of a fish, but overall, it's personal preference just for everybody and what they want. So, tarpon. Let's talk tarpon. So, tarpon usually are they're sometimes in intercoastal, and they're sometimes like in the like shallower parts of like the coast. So not like out far, but like kind of just like maybe they like to hang around like a mile off, maybe. Just places that are shallow, where the water is warm. They're kind of just like hanging around. They like to swim in groups, that's for sure. Every time that I've seen them, they're extremely hard to catch, but they swim extremely fast. They fight. They've even been known to split hooks, so that's also what you got going for you. So I just think if you're gonna go for tarpon, you should probably go with somebody who knows what they're doing. And if you've never fished for tarpon before, good luck, because yeah, they're extremely hard. I really like to. I caught an amberjack, and I those are really fun. They're like a smaller. They're not huge fish, but they're really fun because they swim fast. They're like the bass. I'd say I'd compare them to like the bass of the deep sea. And that's what's cool about deep sea fishing is like they're really it's really different, and it's very like you can't really compare it to other types because it's just so like it's a lot like if you're using a spinning reel and you're just dropping and like jigging. It's kind of like that, except the reward is a lot better than like a walleye. Like I like fishing for walleye and all that, but let me tell you, when you get a red snapper on the line or a grouper or anything that you don't really know what it is, like if you're jigging, you definitely know it's a walleye because you're just jigging for walleye, and they're the ones that sit on those humps. But when you're like dropping stuff down on, say, like in like probably 40 miles off the coast, you really don't know what you're gonna get. So that's what's fun is it's kind of like a mystery, but also you kind of know at the same time because it's kind of like what's common out in the deep sea. So usually you'll be catching like snapper, red snapper, just any type of snapper. They're really common out there, but it is hard because you have to get them at when they're in season. Otherwise, you can't keep them. So usually when we go out in May, you can't keep them. But 1 year, I think 2 or 3 years, we've gone out in June, and we went fishing, so we could keep them because they were in season. In Florida, they get in season on like June 1st or something like that. Literally the day after we leave. So it's whatever, but I really like eating them. They're good to eat. Uh, but anyways, back to the amberjack. I really like catching amberjack because overall, they're like fun to catch, I think. And so they're also like extremely fast, so you have to kind of set the hook or else you're going to lose them. And I just think that like if you stick with them, they can turn out to be a really fun fish to catch. So overall, deep sea fishing is extremely different from like other types. Whereas like casting, it's like deep sea you don't really cast, I wouldn't say. You kind of just drop with a weight and kind of see what you get, especially for your bait. So usually we'll use like small little minnows or like pieces of squid. But it's kind of like personal preference and what works. Again, we talked about that in the last episode. Bait in general is just what works, what you want to use, and what you found that does work. So if you want to go for that, then go for squid or whatever works for you. That's just what has worked for us in the past. But yeah, it's extremely different, I'd say. Deep sea is it's very like mysterious. You don't know what you're gonna get. Whereas like if you're in a lake, you kind of have an idea because it's like, oh, well, there's walleye and there's pike in this lake and there's bass and largemouth and smallmouth, or like trout and salmon in a river or something like that. So you know what you're gonna get. Whereas in like deep sea or like saltwater, it's kind of like you don't really know, but you kind of do, I guess. But I guess that doesn't really make sense. You know what you're gonna get, but it's also very diverse. So you don't know what you're gonna get every single time you drop your bait. So yeah, I'd say it's different in that way. But if you haven't tried deep sea, I definitely recommend it because it's extremely fun. The fight is really good. It's like pulling, like when the guy on our trip, it was my papa actually, my grandpa. He caught the Goliath, and he said it was like pulling 600 pounds on a fishing line. I was like, yep, that sounds about right. And it actually turned out to be huge, so I was like, yep, you were right. So it's definitely more of like how fast you can crank and how fast you can get them up. Otherwise, you're going to lose it. Whereas like casting, it's more of like set the hook, and you're like most of the time going to get them in the boat. But you really don't even know. Sometimes I had one time where I caught a fish. I had it on a line, and as it was coming up, a shark came up and bit its entire body off. And so I pulled it up and only the head was left. I was like, oh my gosh. Which it was weird because I felt it bite. I felt it bite at about halfway when it was up. So like maybe 45 feet down. Because when you're deep sea, you're usually fishing in like 90 feet of water. That's what's also different is it takes longer of time for the lure to get, or the, not the lure, the bait to get down. So it's a lot of waiting and just like seeing what you're going to get. But back to what I was talking about. I had a shark come and bite the fish's body off as I was pulling it up. And so the fish was gone, so we ended up just using it for bait, but it was pretty crazy. But like intercoastal fishing or like just saltwater in general, I think if you're fishing for redfish, they're really cool. They give up a really good fight, and it's like extremely fun. I liked fishing. I haven't fished for redfish in so long. I think I'm gonna go back and try that soon, but definitely recommend that. Um, I think I would like to have like a guest on with some type of like experience in that, who like maybe like a fishing captain or like a charter captain or something like that. So if you do want to come on the show, just DM me on Insta if you're interested. So overall, just deep sea fishing is extremely fun. I'd try it. It's kind of new. If you haven't tried it, I'd definitely try it. It's one of those things that you, as a fisherman, you have to try, or you should try. I won't say you have to, but it's extremely fun. I'd try it. It's fun for everybody, no matter what. It is definitely a fight when it comes to it compared to like other ones because they're bigger fish, but I'd say the reward is extremely fun. So. Well, that's all we got for you today, folks. Thanks for listening. Make sure to go rate and follow the show wherever you listen to your podcasts, and also go follow our Instagram page that's in the description below. And remember, cast your line and go fishing.